This young girl's parents had been in a toxic relationship for a while. When the husband couldn't handle his wife's complaints anymore, he took her to the middle of the forest. While the little girl was sitting alone in the car, the door suddenly opened, allowing her to wander into the forest. That night, news spread that a couple was found dead in the forest. It was believed that the husband killed his wife before taking his own life. After losing her sister, the girl's aunt didn't want to lose her niece too, so she searched for her with the help of the authorities. Despite a thorough search of the forest, the police couldn't find the girl. The aunt didn't give up hope and kept searching for her niece. After a week, she finally rescued her from the forest with the help of some locals. It was a miracle because the young girl survived alone in the forest for a week. What's more, she had no injuries and wasn't even dehydrated. Following the incident, the girl received psychiatric counseling. When the psychiatrist found out that the girl was involved in a fire at the neighbor's house, she became concerned. She didn't want to ignore the girl's unusual behavior, but the aunt explained that it was just an accident as her niece was playing with a lighter. When questioned about her neighbor, the little girl said he was a bad man. A flashback showed that the same neighbor had killed and eaten a missing pet dog. To avenge the pet owner's grief, the girl might have tried to start a fire at the neighbor's house. During the psychiatrist session, the girl pointed out the window, mentioning it was dark. Unlike others, she saw a black figure in front of her eyes, the same entity that had opened the car door for her in the forest. A few years passed, and the girl, now known as Kyung, was attending high school like any other normal teenager. One day, she and her friends discovered that someone had killed the kittens they used to feed at school. Kyung also found a can of tuna with a sweet smell, indicating that antifreeze had been added to it to harm the kittens. Heartbroken by the cats' deaths, Kyung and her friend decided to find the culprit. When Kyung asked her friend what she would do to the culprit, the friend responded that she would kill the person responsible for taking the lives of innocent kittens. Upon discovering that the school's janitor was the culprit, Kyung spiked his milk bottle with antifreeze. When the man consumed the milk and noticed his condition worsening, he attempted to leave his room, but Kyung was stationed in the hallway to prevent his escape. The next day, it was revealed that the janitor had survived. He was rushed to the hospital, where his life was saved. It turned out that his excessive alcohol consumption somehow counteracted the effects of the antifreeze. Kyung confessed to her friend that she had attempted to kill the janitor, but her friend was too frightened to report it to the authorities. Just like that, Kyung got away with her crimes. Over the years, she continued to punish bad people by orchestrating their deaths to look like accidents. In the present day, she hears news about a boy, Guil, who uploaded private videos of his girlfriends online. He has been released after paying a fee, sparking outrage among women's rights activists who believe that the punishment isn't severe enough compared to the ongoing suffering of the victims. To avenge the victims, Kyung resolves to kill him. She tails him to his favorite cafe, where she enlists the help of her accomplice, Gun UK, to clone the culprit's phone. Now Kyung can access all the messages Guil receives from his friends. It appears that he hasn't learned from his past actions, as he now intends to seek out more targets to upload their videos too. That night, Kyung works in her apartment to concoct a chemical mixture. She applies the final product to a French fry and feeds it to a mouse, which collapses and dies. Then she sends a message to certain individuals, saying that it's their turn now. Strangely, all of them possess devil doll keychains, suggesting a connection between them. Later that night, Kyung sends a message to Guil, pretending to be a fan of his work and encouraging him to make more videos. The next day, Guil attends a college festival and discreetly uses a water bottle with a hidden camera attached to film girls under their skirts. Additionally, he has another hidden camera in his cap for his actual plan. After a while, he sits at a food booth and asks the waitress for free food after she accidentally spills water on him. Kyung has one of the boys deliver the oil she prepared to the food booth. The chef cooks the fries in that oil, and the waitress serves them to Guil. While he's eating the fries, another one of Kyung's accomplices pours dish soap into a tray used to make soap bubbles. When Guil walks through the area, a bubble floats in front of him, and he bursts it with his hand. A sudden water balloon fight traps him in the chaos, and he collapses to the ground, struggling to breathe. Meanwhile, Kyung keeps the college students occupied by diverting their attention to a meetup of their favorite idol group. On the other hand, one of Guil's victims, Mi, approaches him and pleads for him to delete his video. When he doesn't respond, she stabs him multiple times in an attempt to eliminate the threat once and for all. Her actions attract the attention of the festival attendees, who then call the cops on her, resulting in her arrest. Kyung isn't pleased with the outcome. Since her accomplice Gun UK also worked as a security guard at the same festival, she obtains CCTV footage of Guil collapsing and broadcasts it on all the billboards in the city. Delivering the message that she is the killer, she manages to prove the girl is innocent. Former cop and current insurance company inspector, Miss Koo Kyung-hee, watches the news and realizes it's connected to one of the cases she's working on. Reviewing the CCTV footage, she identifies a person who delivered the oil at the food booth. When she arrives at his apartment, she discovers the same devil doll keychain she saw in her recent case. When questioned about his presence at the festival, the boy claims he was only instructed to deliver the oil and knows nothing about anything else. As he refuses to cooperate, Kyung-yi forcefully enters his apartment and takes the devil keychain. While she is leaving the building with her team, the delivery guy takes photos of her and sends them to Lee-kyung. Upon seeing Kyung-yi's worker, Santa, Lee-kyung decides to investigate further into why they are targeting her. She steals the keycard of her aunt, who works at the same insurance company as Kyung-yi. Once inside the building, using the stolen keycard, she disguises herself as a janitor and makes her way to Kyung-yi's office. Observing how Kyung-yi's team is entirely focused on finding her, she feels impressed. Instead of worrying about getting caught, she finds satisfaction in the attention her work has received. As she plants a bug in the office, Kyung-yi's colleague, Santa, enters to water his plants. Spotting a trash can, he takes it to the basement, where the building's trash is kept. After he leaves, Lee-kyung emerges from the trash can and walks past Santa while leaving the premises. Initially, Santa greets her, but then he notices a pleasant smell emanating from her. He recalls how the janitors often complained about smelling foul due to their constant interaction with the trash. Suspicious of Lee-kyung, Santa follows her relentlessly until she jumps off the roof and fractures her leg. However, she manages to escape on a bus. The next morning, Santa returns to the office and informs the team about the intruder. After discovering the bug, the team becomes convinced that the killer did visit their office. Informed by Santa that the killer is a girl, Kyung-yi visits Lee-kyung, suspecting her as the culprit. Kyung-yi recalls Lee-kyung from her days as a cop, as she was the one who was called when Lee-kyung poisoned the janitor. While interrogating the students, Kyung-yi sensed something amiss with Lee-kyung, particularly when she repeatedly asked her about methods of killing. It's then that Kyung-yi revealed that she would disguise murders as accidents to evade capture. Since Kyung-yi lacked sufficient evidence to prove Lee-kyung's involvement in the crime, she had to let her go. A few days before the recent murder, Kyung-yi encountered Lee-kyung again after many years due to her aunt working at the same company. Kyung-yi sensed something was off, and upon learning that the killer's modus operandi matched a girl in her 20s, she immediately suspected Lee-kyung due to her consistently strange behavior. When questioned about her whereabouts the previous night, Lee-kyung claimed she was practicing her play. After Kyung-yi departs, Lee-kyung realizes she needs to eliminate the inspector before she can apprehend her. To execute her plan, Lee-kyung enlists the help of another stranger whom she once aided and now asks for a favor in return. Since the woman is linked to one of Kyung-yi's recent cases, she informs Kyung-yi about receiving a call from the killer. Consequently, Kyung-yi and her team gather in the area where the killer, Lee-kyung, is supposed to meet the woman. Contrary to expectations, Lee-kyung fails to appear. The woman pours water into the pool, leading Kyung-yi to believe she is poisoning it as instructed by the killer. However, as Kyung-yi is occupied instructing the children to leave the pool, the woman drinks the water, revealing it is just part of the plan and that the killer never intended to harm anyone. Confused, Kyung-yi stands bewildered while Lee-kyung watches from above, enjoying the scene. As Kyung-yi's other teammates, Jae-hui and Jae-soo, wait in the car, they suddenly feel something happening to them. They attempt to leave the car but find the doors locked from the outside. Their voices change as if they've inhaled helium gas, and shortly after, both of them pass out. Realizing she's been deceived, Kyung-yi rushes back to her other colleagues, only to find them missing. After regaining consciousness, Jae-soo and Jae-hui find themselves tied together inside a wooden box. They manage to free themselves only to discover they're inside a container slowly sinking in water. Jae-hui calls Kyung-yi and informs her of their predicament, but they're unsure of their location. Kyung-yi and Santa rush to the seaside as Jae-hui mentioned the water is salty, but they can't locate the container. Meanwhile, the container continues to sink, putting Jae-hui and Jae-soo's lives in jeopardy. Just then, Kyung-yi decides to explore nearby areas where fresh water mixes with saltwater. Searching on maps, she finds a nearby lake that fits the description. Kyung-yi and Santa board a boat to search for their colleagues. Meanwhile, Jae-hui and Jae-soo find themselves submerged in water inside the container. They struggle to open the door but finally succeed. Jae-hui prioritizes her colleague's life, helping Jae-soo escape first. Exhausted, she loses consciousness just as Kyung-yi arrives. Fortunately, Jae-hui and Jae-soo had already escaped the container by then. A few hours earlier, while Lee-kyung was enjoying her time playing with Kyung-yi, she was approached by a strange old man who handed her a tissue packet with the words "Save the Birds" on it. Assuming the man was affiliated with some organization, she kept the packet. Shortly after, two cops approached her, acting on a tip about a girl carrying drugs. Upon inspecting the tissue packet, they discovered a cigarette filled with drugs, leading to her arrest and detention at the police station. It turns out that the old man was hired by Lee-kyung's accomplice, Gun Uk, who was fed up with her blatant engagement in the murder game. which put their identities at risk of exposure. Back in the present day, Kyung-hee converses with Jiang-soo and learns about how he and Jae-hui were rendered unconscious due to helium gas. To delve further into the case, she returns to the seaside and asks some locals if they have witnessed anything suspicious. A group of old men mentions seeing a girl emerge from the men's bathroom, recalling CCTV footage of a man renting a quad bike to transport a wooden box. Kyung-hee speculates that the individual might have been a woman who changed clothes in the men's bathroom. When she shows the old men a photo of Lee-kyung, they recognize her as the woman who exited the men's restroom. Now convinced that Lee-kyung is the killer of the murders disguised as a self-harm, Kyung-hee is determined to apprehend her. While her team was investigating the case, she was approached by Miss Young-suk, the director of a children's organization, who shared Kyung-hee's urgency in catching the killer. Miss Young-suk offered full support to Kyung-hee and her team, promising resources and assistance to capture the killer. This is how Kyung-hee was specifically recruited to solve this case. In the present day, Kyung-hee contacts Miss Young-suk's assistant and informs him that she has located the killer, who is planning to leave the country. To catch Lee-kyung, Kyung-hee and her team gather at the airport disguised as workers. Miss Young-suk also arrives at the airport to monitor Lee-kyung through the CCTV cameras. Lee-kyung's aunt, who is departing for the USA due to a family emergency, checks out at the reception, but Lee-kyung is missing. Her aunt tries to call her, but her phone is turned off. Just then, Lee-kyung's phone is traced at the airport, leading the team to believe she has arrived. However, it's another ruse orchestrated by Lee-kyung. She has hired a woman to use her phone to call her aunt. Meanwhile, Lee-kyung contacts her aunt from her apartment using another phone and informs her that she won't make it to the airport on time. She instructs her aunt to proceed without her and assures her that she'll catch the next flight to the USA tomorrow. Lee-kyung's phone is hacked, allowing Miss Young-suk and other team members to discover she won't arrive at the airport. After the plan fails, nearly everyone in the airport starts to leave, revealing that Miss Young-suk had hired a significant number of people in her quest to apprehend Lee-kyung. It's unclear why Miss Young-suk is so fixated on catching Lee-kyung. It appears there's more to Miss Young-suk than what meets the eye. On the other hand, Gun UK is at the airport reviewing the CCTV footage as instructed by Lee-kyung. Lee-kyung is delighted to learn that more than 50 people were at the airport to catch her. Realizing how important she is to some people, she feels satisfied. While she is talking to Gun UK, she senses someone outside her hideout. She hides behind the door, but Kyung-hee manages to spot her through the window. As Kyung-hee attempts to open the door, Lee-kyung pulls it inward while confessing to being the killer. When Kyung-hee threatens to call the cops, Lee-kyung starts opening the door to apprehend Kyung-hee and silence her for good. As Lee-kyung exerts force on the door outward, Kyung-hee steps back, pulling Lee-kyung out of her hideout. Now facing each other, Lee-kyung prepares to harm Kyung-hee. Since she is slightly intoxicated, Kyung-hee initially finds herself overpowered by the young girl. Lee-kyung gains the upper hand by punching Kyung-hee repeatedly, but the inspector fights back and knocks her to the ground. Lee-kyung then attempts to find a weapon, but Kyung-hee intervenes and sprays her face with spray paint. While Lee-kyung is distracted, covering her eyes, Kyung-hee handcuffs one of her wrists while wrapping the other cuff around her own wrist. She does this to ensure that Lee-kyung cannot escape this time. After Kyung-hee swallows the key to the handcuffs, Lee-kyung decides to cut her hand to free herself. Before she can execute her plan, Santa arrives just in time and covers her with a fishing net. Kyung-hee instructs Santa to capture Lee-kyung, but as Santa is inexperienced in such matters, he becomes frightened and flees the scene. Lee-kyung manages to free herself and strikes Kyung-hee's head against the wall. She then uses a hairpin to unlock the handcuff and escapes. Santa attempts to stop her with the help of local cops, but Lee-kyung turns the cops against him. Since Santa is mute, it takes him time to convince the cops that Lee-kyung is the real culprit. Before the cops can apprehend her, Lee-kyung uses a paddleboard to flee. The cops pursue her in their boat, but Lee-kyung dives into the water and escapes unnoticed. Kyung-hee's team continues their investigation and discovers that a person named Soo-young recently posted a picture of the same devil doll keychain. Jae-soo and Santa visit Soo-young's former office undercover as loan sharks and uncover that Soo-young was bullied by his colleagues, particularly his boss, Ko-dam. The office environment is peculiar, as all employees are mandated to take supplements during lunch breaks. One employee confides in Santa about how Soo-young stole office items, resulting in punishment and humiliation from their boss. Further digging reveals that Ko-dam is also a lawyer who runs a law firm. He's representing the victim, Mi-ae, in court. Kyung-hee and Jae-hui approach Ko-dam, seeking his assistance in a case where an employee is bullied by his boss. To their surprise, Ko-dam remains pleasant and offers helpful suggestions on how their client can build a case. He concludes the exchange by giving Kyung-hee his personal number, expressing his willingness to represent their client for free. After leaving Ko-dam's office, Jae-hui suggests to Kyung-hee that Ko-dam might not be involved in Soo-young's bullying. Considering his willingness to cooperate with the victim, Kyung-hee remains silent and returns to the office, pretending to search for something under the table. When Ko-dam exits the bathroom to investigate, Kyung-hee notices broken glass fragments on his pants. Leaving the office, Kyung-hee tells Jae-hui that individuals like Ko-dam often conceal their true emotions in front of others and wait until they're alone. True to her observation, after Kyung-hee and Jae-hui depart, Ko-dam enters his bathroom, wraps his knuckles in a towel, and punches the mirror while cursing Soo-young. As Kyung-hee returns to her van, Jae-soo informs her that he has obtained Soo-young's flash drive. It contains a startup disk program to automatically upload files to a website called Minaret. The group speculates whether Soo-young had a side job on Minaret. They also discover that Ko-dam is using his company to upload the video of Q2's victim, Mi-ae, to the internet while defending her during her trial. This discovery raises suspicions about Ko-dam's intentions and involvement in the case. Meanwhile, Gun-uk spots Lee-kyung on a CCTV camera. He approaches her and offers her some food. Lee-kyung takes him to his temporary residence, a tent under a bridge, and reveals that she has started working on killing their next target. It's revealed that Ko-dam is indeed her next target. Lee-kyung plans to go to America after killing Ko-dam. The next day, as Ko-dam heads to his office, Kyung-hee and her team follow him to ensure Lee-kyung doesn't kill him. At the office, they discover there will be an event demonstrating a robot made by Ko-dam's company. Kyung-hee suspects this is when Lee-kyung will strike. To replace Ko-dam's security with her own, Kyung-hee arranges a blast outside the building. With security measures failing, Ko-dam becomes furious with his security team captain and fires him. The plan succeeds, and Kyung-hee secures the position of Ko-dam's security. Thanks to Miss Young-suk's connections, on the day of the event, Kyung-hee prepares for all possible strategies Lee-kyung might use to kill Ko-dam. While Ko-dam showcases his new robot to the audience, Jae-hui monitors the security room, and Kyung-hee keeps watch in the hall. Despite Kyung-hee guarding Ko-dam, Lee-kyung proceeds with her plan. Gun-uk, disguised as a waiter, enters the hall and pushes a food trolley Lee-kyung had prepared earlier. When he pushes a button on a remote, a group of cute small robots emerge from the trolley, capturing the attention of the event guests. Using the hidden camera in Gun-uk's glasses, Lee-kyung spots her aunt, Jong-yeon, at the event. It turns out Kyung-hee had called Jong-yeon from the USA to use her as bait to catch Lee-kyung. She believed Lee-kyung wouldn't carry out her plan if Jong-yeon were present, fearing for her aunt's safety. As expected, Lee-kyung panics upon seeing Jong-yeon and orders Gun-uk to escort her out safely. Jong-yeon, unwilling to believe her niece is a murderer, desperately asks Gun-uk if Lee-kyung is planning to kill Ko-dam. Before they can discuss further, Kyung-hee arrives, causing Gun-uk to flee. Amid the chaos, Ko-dam exits the robot. Soon after, all the robots catch fire, sparking panic among the guests. Suspecting something amiss, Ko-dam escapes from the hall through his hidden route. To uncover the truth about her niece, Jong-yeon follows Ko-dam. Meanwhile, Lee-kyung is anxious about her aunt. She calls her and sternly instructs her to stay put. Ignoring Lee-kyung's warning, Jong-yeon, desperate to see her niece, exits the escape route. Tragically, she is impaled by a sharp metal rod that launches automatically when she opens the door. Jong-yeon collapses and succumbs to her injuries, leaving Lee-kyung shocked to find her aunt dead on the floor. Meanwhile, instead of ensuring Ko-dam's safety, Jae-hui knocks him unconscious and hands him over to Miss Young-suk's men. On the other hand, Lee-kyung is too shocked to even consider running when she sees Kyung-hee. However, Gun-uk insists she leaves the premises with him. Meanwhile, Miss Young-suk speaks to the abducted Ko-dam via video call. Ko-dam pleads with her to release him, vowing to take a secret to his grave. It emerges that Ko-dam has announced his candidacy for mayor, and since Miss Young-suk's eldest son is also running for mayor, it could be why she wants him dead. However, Ko-dam's mention of taking a truth to the grave suggests there's more to the plot than meets the eye. Ko-dam might possess information about Miss Young-suk's family that she can't afford to have exposed. Even though Ko-dam promises not to disclose it, Miss Young-suk chooses to eliminate him. Her right-hand man sedates Ko-dam and places him in his car. They place a heavy wooden piece on the accelerator and attach a string to the gear. When the car is started, it crashes into a container. Then, Young-suk's right-hand man, Mr. Kim, sets the car on fire, making Ko-dam's death appear accidental. The following day, Jong-yeon's cremation takes place at the crematorium, but Lee-kyung is unable to attend. While having lunch at an eatery, she observes an irresponsible and abusive mother mistreating her child. When the woman attempts to hit her child, her shoe accidentally lands in Lee-kyung's soup bowl. The owner offers to replace the meal, but Lee-kyung declines, stating she has already finished eating. After the abusive mother departs, Lee-kyung follows her. She leads her to a rooftop and hangs her from the roof, declaring her a bad person who deserves to die. It could be the trauma of losing her aunt that has led Lee-kyung to target random strangers. The woman manages to push her away, but as she tries to flee, Lee-kyung suddenly sneezes, unleashing a burst of force that throws the woman off the rooftop. Confused, Lee-kyung watches from above as the woman lies dead on the road below. This incident prompts Lee-kyung to continue killing individuals she deems as bad, enlisting Gun UK's help to dispose of their bodies and any evidence. Gun UK advises her to refrain from impulsive actions and instead meticulously plan each murder to facilitate easier disposal of evidence and avoid getting caught. The next day, Lee Kyung sets up a meeting with Kyung-hee to uncover who killed Ko-dam and who was behind her aunt's death. Initially, Kyung-hee suspects Lee Kyung as the culprit for Ko-dam's murder. However, upon realizing that Lee Kyung denies involvement, Kyung-hee begins to suspect there's more to the situation than they know. During their covert meeting, Lee Kyung keeps watch outside the restaurant while Kyung-hee sits inside. Lee Kyung questions Kyung-hee about her aunt's presence at the conference hall, to which Kyung-hee expresses her own confusion. She admits to bringing her aunt back to Korea but is puzzled about how Jong-yeon ended up at the exit point of a secret escape room instead of leaving through the entrance area. This revelation leads Lee Kyung to realize that the person who organized the 50 people at the airport is likely the one responsible for Ko-dam's death, making it appear as a suicide. Just as Jae-soo is about to apprehend Lee Kyung, she manages to catch up to him. Lee Kyung suspects Jae-hui is responsible for Ko-dam's death because she's the only one who benefited from it. Becoming the campaign manager for Miss Yong-suk's son, Kyung-hee explains that they were all offered something in exchange for catching Lee Kyung, but some refused, while Jae-hui didn't. Before Lee Kyung can harm Jae-soo, Santa arrives and attempts to fight her, but both he and Jae-soo are easily overpowered. After scratching Jae-soo's arm with a fork, Lee Kyung sets off a smoke bomb and escapes the restaurant unnoticed. Blaming Jae-hui for Ko-dam and Jong-yeon's deaths, Lee Kyung storms into her apartment and attempts to choke her. Meanwhile, Kyung-hee confronts Miss Yong-suk at a local eatery by a cliff, questioning her about Ko-dam's murder. When Yong-suk denies involvement, Kyung-hee emphasizes that Lee Kyung believes the person responsible for Ko-dam's death is also responsible for her aunt's demise. She now believes that Lee Kyung will kill her sooner or later. Shortly after, Lee Kyung arrives, seeking an alliance with Miss Yong-suk. She believes that with someone powerful like Miss Yong-suk on her side, she won't have to handle the aftermath of her killings alone. Miss Yong-suk's willingness to ally with a murderer like Lee Kyung confirms Kyung-hee's suspicion that she is indeed Ko-dam's killer. Consequently, Miss Yong-suk orders Mr. Kim to eliminate Kyung-hee. Mr. Kim locks Kyung-hee in a barrel and dumps her at a garbage site. Kyung-hee regains consciousness, feeling bloodied and sore. She finds herself inside a massive cylindrical chamber, saved from a deadly fall by landing in the middle of a metal framework. Despite her attempts to call for help, no one responds. She tries to reach a ladder on a metal beam but struggles to do so. Meanwhile, Jae-soo and Santa grow increasingly worried about Kyung-hee's absence. Knowing she wouldn't leave her apartment without good reason, Santa uses a GPS tracker he implanted in her shoe to locate her and discovers it at the garbage site. They rush to the location, finding Kyung-hee's shoe and suspecting she is nearby. As Kyung-hee attempts to cross the metal beam again, she slips, barely managing to cling onto it in time. Summoning her last reserves of energy, she throws herself across the remaining distance and grabs a rung of the ladder, only for it to break off, sending her plummeting to the chamber's bottom. At nightfall, she regains consciousness to find her life miraculously saved by a fishing net that saved her from falling. She spends the night there and begins anew the next morning to escape. Using a sharp metal lid, she cuts through the fishing net and then ties a wooden stick to one end. With a surprising stroke of luck, she tosses it at the ladder and hooks it on the first try. As Kyung-hee reaches the upper rim, her strength wanes, and she struggles to grasp the last step. Just as she is about to fall, Jae-hui grabs her hand, saving her from falling. We thought Jae-hui died because of her last encounter with Lee Kyung, but she is alive, and Santa and Jae-soo are with her. Meanwhile, Miss Yong-suk is enraged at her son, Hyun-tae, for getting a woman pregnant. The woman's brother now blackmails Hyun-tae, and Miss Yong-suk refuses to tolerate anything hindering her son's mayoral aspirations, even if it means taking action against her own flesh and blood. To eliminate the blackmailer, Miss Yong-suk directs Lee Kyung to kill him, describing him as truly evil. It becomes apparent that Miss Yong-suk is exploiting Lee Kyung for her own nefarious purposes. Lee Kyung tracks down the man and confronts him in an elevator with a bunch of balloons filled with toxic gas and powder. As she begins popping the balloons, the blackmailer starts collapsing from the effects. Lee Kyung, protected by her mask, remains unaffected by the gas. The blackmailer tries to flee but becomes too weak to resist. After his demise, one of Miss Yong-suk's men arrives to clean the scene and dispose of any evidence. At a coffee shop, two of Miss Yong-suk's men gossip about her threat to kill Hyun-tae, who is supposedly vacationing in Hawaii. Overhearing the conversation, they suspect Hyun-tae may be dead. A journalist, who had been eavesdropping from the bushes, returns to his office to publish the information. While he writes the article, a noose made of a fishing line descends from the ceiling, tightening around his neck and lifting him up. The journalist is startled as Kyung drops down from a vent and begins reading his unfinished article. Curious about Miss Young-suk's motives, Kyung interrogates the journalist, giving him a 10-second ultimatum to reveal any additional information or face death. He gestures towards a canister where Kyung discovers a hidden memory card inside the lid given to the journalist by Ko-dam. After viewing a seemingly normal yacht scene on the video, Kyung decides to spare the journalist's life and detonates the location to make it appear as though she completed the task. She then sends the journalist, disguised as a gift, to Gun Uk's apartment, where Kyung-hee and her team have also gathered after tracking him down. The journalist delivers Kyung's message to Gun Uk to watch a video. As Gun Uk plays the video, he uncovers hidden footage layered over the old footage. Seeing the yacht in the footage, Kyung-hee realizes it's connected to the same case they were investigating when they first started looking for Kyung. In that case, a man drowned near the yacht, and subsequently, each person on the boat died within a few days. Kyung-hee concludes that Kyung was responsible for these deaths. The video reveals another man on the yacht who is still alive. Considering Kyung's history of killing everyone on the boat, the team suspects she may be unaware of this additional person. Anticipating Kyung will contact Gun Uk again, Kyung-hee instructs him to have Kyung reach out if she wants to know the identity of the mystery person. Gun Uk calls Kyung and updates her on the situation. Meanwhile, Mr. Kim grows suspicious that Kyung hasn't carried out the journalist's murder. After reviewing CCTV footage, he discovers a large box was moved from the journalist's office to an unknown location. Realizing Kyung's betrayal, Mr. Kim orders another employee to imprison her in the basement. The old man sedates Kyung with a tranquilizer and transfers her to the basement, intending to torture her for her betrayal. Upon regaining consciousness, Kyung senses the imminent danger to her life. She hides behind the door, and when the old man enters the room, mistaking a pillow for Kyung, she strikes him with a brick, resulting in his demise. With her escape from Miss Young-suk's villa, Kyung is now prepared to meet Kyung-hee. On the other hand, it is revealed that the man in the video is none other than Hyun-tae. He had given drugs to everyone on the boat, including the boy Jun Hyun, who drowned that night. When Jun Hyun lost control and fell into the water, Hyun-tae stood by and watched him die. The others on the boat followed Hyun-tae's lead and also chose not to assist the boy. Seeing their indifference to the boy's death, Kyung concluded they were all morally corrupt and killed them. Kyung-hee notices in one of the men's glasses that the mysterious person on the boat was Hyun-tae. This revelation suggests that Miss Young-suk may have wanted to capture Kyung because she feared Kyung would kill her son, just as she had done to the other passengers on the yacht. When Kyung discovers from Kyung-hee that Hyun-tae was also present on the boat that night, she sets out to kill him. However, Hyun-tae has already been safely taken away by Kyung-hee and Jae-hui. Kyung-hee shares Hyun-tae's video with the news channels, leaving Miss Young-suk with no choice but to address the situation. Believing that Kyung is responsible for exposing her son, Miss Young-suk approaches Kyung-hee to handle the fallout. Following Kyung-hee's instructions, Miss Young-suk issues a public apology on behalf of her son regarding the video that has shocked everyone. As Miss Young-suk addresses the media, promising to unveil the fabrication of the video, a sudden attack occurs. A reporter hurls acid at her face, causing her to collapse in agony. Jae-hui and Mr. Kim swiftly cover her face with their jackets and rush her to the hospital. Miss Young-suk's face is severely burned, requiring extensive bandaging that leaves only her eyes visible. Kyung-hee seizes the opportunity to capture photos of her and then departs from the hospital. Gun Uk and Kyung review the video of Hyun-tae and discover that several other videos were also on the USB, but they have been deleted. Suspecting that Kyung-hee might still possess those videos, Kyung approaches Jae-soo in the bathroom stall and persuades him to provide her with the deleted data so she can eliminate more wrongdoers. Before handing over the USB, Jae-soo emphasizes that he doesn't work for Kyung and that his priority is ensuring that the perpetrators face justice. It's revealed that the deleted videos contain embarrassing or incriminating footage of wealthy individuals, which Ko-dam kept as leverage for potential blackmail. Kyung-hee distributes devil dolls to each of these individuals along with their respective incriminating videos, intending to blackmail them. Subsequently, she sends a message to Hyun-tae, containing a recording of his brother Song-tae expressing a desire to eliminate him due to the trouble he frequently causes. Misinterpreting the situation, Hyun-tae suspects his mother's involvement in his brother's plan. Seeking assistance, he contacts Kyung, viewing her as his potential savior, and offers her $1 billion to eliminate Song-tae. Following Miss Young-suk's instructions, Hyun-tae attends a press conference to clear his name following the viral video. However, the protesters cause such a commotion that even Hyun-tae is unable to regain control, and he is mobbed by the crowd. Meanwhile, Mr. Kim is taking Miss Young-suk somewhere when their car gets a flat tire. As Mr. Kim steps out to inspect it, Kyung appears and uses a tranquilizer dart to knock him unconscious. She takes his gun and approaches Miss Young-suk, threatening her to come along if she doesn't want to die there. Lee-kyung takes Miss Young-suk to an auditorium and straps her to a wheelchair. She reveals that 20 more criminals, featured in the incriminating videos, have been gathered at a building to deliver the ransom. Unbeknownst to Young-suk, Song-tae, her eldest son and a mayoral candidate, is tied to a teddy bear at the same location. Without revealing Song-tae's presence at the building, Lee-kyung gives Miss Young-suk a choice: kill all 20 people and save Hyun-tae, or kill Hyun-tae and save the 20 strangers who have also committed bad deeds. Miss Young-suk chooses to save the 20 people, appearing selfless. Lee-kyung assumes Miss Young-suk knew about her eldest son's presence and chose to save him, believing he has a better future than her youngest son. Lee-kyung then offers Miss Young-suk another choice: save herself or the 21 people, including her son. Once again, the old woman chooses the people over herself. Suspicious, Lee-kyung examines Young-suk's eyes more closely. As she removes the bandages, she is shocked to discover that the woman is not Miss Young-suk but Kyung-hee in disguise. The brat throws a screaming fit, and Kyung-hee smiles triumphantly. Before Lee-kyung can set off the bomb, Jae-soo arrives at the building and escorts everyone out. As they evacuate, one of them mentions that Song-tae is still inside. Jae-soo rushes back in with Jae-hui following him. To gain Lee-kyung's trust, Kyung-hee pretends to understand her agenda of killing bad people. Once Lee-kyung frees her, Kyung-hee pulls the trigger, detonating the bomb in the abandoned building. Jae-hui barely dodges the explosion and heads inside to look for Jae-soo. She finds him and Song-tae taking refuge in a refrigerator, having used it to stay safe from the blast. Soon after Kyung-hee reveals her true self to Lee-kyung, Miss Young-suk and her men barge into the auditorium to kill Lee-kyung. The old woman also plans to kill Kyung-hee, knowing she is aware of all the family's wrongdoings. As Young-suk attempts to shoot Lee-kyung, Gun Uk jaumps in front of her and takes the bullet. Kyung-hee tries to escape, but Young-suk fires at her, making it clear she won't let her live either. Lee-kyung gets up and fires at Young-suk's men, giving Kyung-hee a chance to get to the back of the stage and close the curtains. Lee-kyung takes Santa hostage to prevent Kyung-hee from acting against her. As Young-suk's men fire through the curtain, poor Gun Uk falls victim to another gunshot. As Young-suk gets closer to the stage, Kyung-hee tosses the bomb attached to her chest towards the old woman, and Lee-kyung detonates it. The explosion engulfs the stage, creating chaos. She flees the area, holding Santa hostage, while Kyung-hee follows her. With Gun Uk's assistance, she discovers where Kyung-hee might be taking Santa. When Lee-kyung boards the train, she finds Kyung-hee already there. Lee-kyung asks if the police are waiting for her at the next stop, and Kyung-hee confirms she will indeed be arrested. To break Kyung-hee, Lee-kyung reveals Santa's identity. It is shown that Kyung-hee's husband took his own life after being accused of murdering a high school girl. It's the same school where he used to teach Lee-kyung. Kyung-hee interrogated him, and after that, he did the unthinkable. She blamed herself for her husband's death, thinking she might have wrongly accused him. This guilt drove her to quit her job as a cop and live a secluded, depressed life. In the present day, Lee-kyung accuses Santa of being responsible for Kyung-hee's husband's death, alleging that he was the girl's secret boyfriend and was seen with her, not Sung-woo, shortly before her drowning. Lee-kyung explains that if Santa had just admitted to being with the girl that day, her husband would still be alive, and Kyung-hee would be happily living as a cop. Kyung-hee pleads with Santa to tell her the truth, but his silence makes her lose control. She grabs his collar and demands to know if he killed her husband. He denies it, but Kyung-hee mocks him, saying that the ever-suspicious Kyung-hee won't believe her. Kyung-hee declares that she doesn't care about Santa's past actions. What matters is that he's a good person now. Lee-kyung suggests killing Santa, but Kyung-hee can't bear to witness a murder. She fights back and prevents Lee-kyung from shooting. After incapacitating Santa, Lee-kyung turns to Kyung-hee, repeatedly punching her in the face. Then, she stands up and points the gun at Santa. Kyung-hee acts quickly, opening the container door, grabbing Lee-kyung, and leaping off the moving train. Soon after, the police arrive and arrest Lee-kyung. Kyung-hee is hospitalized, where she is forbidden from drinking, something she lives for. Due to the explosion, Miss Young-suk's face becomes disfigured. She is subsequently arrested and investigated for 17 crimes. Thanks to the video Jae-hui took of Ko Dam's murder and her testimony, Hyun-tae is also arrested, and Song-tae apologizes for the distress his family caused and withdraws from the mayoral race. The series concludes with Lee-kyung sitting in her prison cell, gazing at the sky through the window. She feels no remorse for her actions and remains convinced that she must eliminate the bad people at any cost.